Deep Space Encounter. The vast emptiness of space stretched before the Oraxian exploratory vessel Celestial Seeker, stars scattered like luminescent dust across the black canvas of the universe. Commander Ziller Vex stood on the command deck, his forearms clasped behind his back, all three of his eyes focused on the main view screen. "Anything of interest, Science Officer Nara?" he asked, mandibles clicking with barely contained impatience. Officer Nara, her blue-scaled skin reflecting the soft glow of her console, shook her head. "Nothing beyond the usual cosmic background radiation, Commander. This sector appears as empty as the last three we've surveyed." Ziller suppressed a chittering sigh. The Oraxian Interstellar Council had tasked the Celestial Seeker with mapping the outer reaches of Sector 7G, a region previously deemed of minimal strategic importance. In other words, they'd been assigned the galactic equivalent of counting sand grains in the arid plains of their homeworld. "3 cycles of nothing," Ziller muttered. "The Council sends our most advanced exploratory vessel to chart emptiness. What a waste of resources." Lieutenant Kraz, the navigation officer, swiveled his upper body toward the commander. "Perhaps that's precisely why they sent us, to confirm there's nothing worth returning for. Or perhaps," interjected Tactical Officer Misa, her voice carrying the distinctive melodic undertone of the southern continent Oraxians, "they simply wanted you far from the capital after the Proxima incident." The bridge fell silent. No one mentioned the Proxima incident directly, but everyone knew. Commander Ziller had disobeyed direct orders during a first contact situation, resulting in a diplomatic nightmare that had taken 3 standard years to resolve. "Your input is noted, Officer Misa," Ziller replied coldly. "Perhaps you'd prefer to serve under a more conventional commander. I hear the agricultural survey vessels are always looking for tactical experts to analyze crop patterns." Misa lowered her gaze to her console. "No offense intended, Commander." The tense moment was interrupted by a sudden alert from the long-range scanner station. Science Officer Nara straightened, her scaled crest rising in surprise. "Commander, I'm detecting an artificial structure at coordinates 873 to 4291, just at the edge of our scanner range." Ziller moved swiftly to her station, looking over her shoulder at the readouts. "Magnify and enhance." The main view screen shifted, zooming in on a distant point of light that gradually resolved into a distinctly artificial shape, a vessel of some kind, its design unlike any in the Oraxian database. "Unknown configuration," Nara reported, her fingers dancing across her console. "Approximately 700 meters in length. Hull composition appears to be primarily advanced alloys with some elements our sensors cannot identify. It's not broadcasting any recognition signals on standard frequencies." Ziller felt his pulse quicken. This was it, a chance to redeem himself after the Proxima debacle. The discovery of a new spacefaring species could restore his standing with the Council. "Life signs?" he asked, trying to keep the excitement from his voice. "Difficult to determine at this range," Nara replied. "The hull appears to have some shielding properties that interfere with our biological scanners." "Weapons status?" Ziller turned to Tactical Officer Misa. "The vessel possesses what appear to be weapon emplacements," she replied, studying her readouts. "Design suggests directed energy weapons and possibly projectile launchers, all currently inactive. Power emissions are minimal. They may be in a low-energy state or possibly dormant." Ziller considered this information. A derelict, perhaps, or a ship in hibernation mode for long-distance travel. "Impossible to determine without closer examination," Nara said. "Then let's get closer," Ziller decided. "Lieutenant Kraz, set course to intercept 1/4 thrust. Maintain distance of 10,000 kilometers when we arrive. Misa, raise defensive screens as a precaution, but keep weapons powered down. We don't want to appear hostile." The Celestial Seeker altered course, its powerful engines propelling it toward the mysterious vessel. As they drew closer, more details became visible. "The design is unlike anything in our database," Nara observed. "There are markings on the hull, possibly a form of writing or identification. Can we translate? Zilar asked. Not enough context, Nera replied. But I can make out what might be a designation near what appears to be the command section. UNS Windsor. UNS, Zilar repeated, perhaps an acronym for their interstellar organization. As they approached the designated distance, Zilar ordered the celestial seeker to match the unknown vessel's velocity and orientation. Now we can get a proper look at you, he murmured, studying the ship on the view screen. The vessel was sleek yet formidable, with a design that suggested both functionality and power. It bore none of the ornamental flourishes common to Araxian ships, yet there was an undeniable elegance to its utilitarian form. Commander, Misa called out, I'm detecting minimal energy emissions from the vessel. Life support appears to be functioning, but weapons, propulsion, and communications all seem to be in standby mode. A sleeping giant, Zilar mused. Officer Nera, prepare the deep scan array. Let's see what secrets this vessel holds. Nera hesitated. Commander, protocol dictates that first contact should begin with communication attempts rather than invasive scanning. Zilar waved a dismissive hand. Protocol is for bureaucrats and diplomats. We're explorers. The Council expects us to gather information. Besides, he added, gesturing toward the view screen, if they detect our scan, it might wake them up and give us the opportunity for proper introductions. And if they consider it an aggressive act? Misa asked quietly. Zilar's mandibles clicked in amusement. Look at their ship, officer. Advanced, yes, but clearly not on par with our technology. If they object, we apologize and explain our scientific curiosity. No harm done. After a moment of uncomfortable silence, Nera nodded. Preparing deep scan array. Full spectrum analysis commencing in 3, 2, 1. A pulse of invisible energy emanated from the celestial seeker, enveloping the dormant vessel in a web of scanning beams designed to penetrate hull materials and provide detailed information about the ship's internal structure, technology, and occupants. For several moments, data streamed back to the Araxian ship, filling their screens with readings and measurements. Fascinating, Nera breathed. Their propulsion system appears to utilize a form of reaction drive, but there's something else. Some kind of field generator that our sensors can't quite analyze. Life forms, Zilar pressed. Yes, Nera confirmed. Several hundred, reading as carbon-based. Vital, from what I can determine. Currently most are in a low metabolic state, possibly sleeping or in hibernation. Hibernation would be consistent with long-duration space travel without faster-than-light capability, Zilar noted. Perhaps they. Commander, Misa's alarmed voice cut through his speculation. Energy surge detected within the unknown vessel. They're powering up. Zilar felt a spike of excitement rather than concern. Excellent. Our scan must have triggered some automated wake-up protocol. Looks like we'll get our first contact after all. Sir, Misa continued, her voice tight with tension. They're activating defensive systems. Multiple weapon emplacements coming online. Before Zilar could respond, Nera added, Commander, I'm detecting a targeted scanning beam directed at us. It's cutting through our defensive screens like they aren't even there. For the first time, a flicker of doubt crossed Zilar's mind. Impossible. Our screening technology is the most advanced in the known galaxy. Nevertheless, Misa replied grimly, they're scanning every deck of our vessel. The precision is unprecedented. A new alert sounded from the communication station. Commander, we're receiving a transmission. Audio only, translated through our linguistics matrix. Let's hear it, Zilar ordered, straightening his posture. The bridge speakers crackled to life, and a deep, measured voice filled the command deck. Attention unidentified vessel. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Nations ship Windsor. Your unsanctioned deep scan of our vessel constitutes an aggressive action under Interstellar Protocol 7B. Cease all scanning operations immediately and identify yourselves. or we will be forced to take defensive measures." The bridge crew turned to Zilar, awaiting his response. The commander's crest flattened slightly, the Araxian equivalent of a frown. "They speak of interstellar protocol," he mused aloud. "Interesting for a species we've never encountered before." "Commander," Misa urged, "their weapons are fully powered now. I'm detecting targeting systems activating." "They're bluffing," Zilar decided. "If they had truly advanced interstellar capability, our intelligence networks would have detected them before now." "Continue the scan, Nera. Misa, maintain our current defensive posture, but prepare countermeasures in case they attempt any foolish actions." "Sir," Nera began to protest. "That was an order, officer," Zilar snapped. He tapped his communication interface. "Open a channel to the Windsor." After confirmation that the channel was open, Zilar spoke with the measured authority he had perfected over his long career. "This is Commander Zyler Vex of the Araxian exploratory vessel Celestial Seeker. We apologize for any alarm our scientific inquiry may have caused. We are peaceful explorers cataloging this previously uncharted region. Our scan is purely for scientific documentation and poses no threat to your vessel or crew." There was a brief pause before Captain Chen's voice returned, noticeably cooler than before. "Commander Vex, our records contain no mention of the Araxian species. However, your scientific inquiry has attempted to access secure systems and gather tactical data about our vessel's capabilities. This goes beyond peaceful exploration. I must insist that you cease your scanning immediately and withdraw to a distance of at least 50,000 kilometers while we establish proper diplomatic protocols for this first contact situation." Zilar's mandibles clicked in irritation. These primitives were attempting to dictate terms to an Araxian commander. The very idea was preposterous. "Continue the scan," he ordered Nera quietly, before returning to the open channel. "Captain Chen, while we respect your concerns, the Celestial Seeker will complete its standard exploration protocols. I assure you that all information gathered will be treated with appropriate confidentiality according to Araxian scientific ethics." As Nera reluctantly deepened the scan, Misa suddenly straightened in alarm. "Commander, there." Her warning came too late. A brilliant beam of energy lanced out from the Windsor, striking the Celestial Seeker's primary scanner array with pinpoint precision. The Araxian vessel shuddered, and warning alarms blared across the command deck. "Scanner array disabled," Nara reported, her scales paling. "They've severed the primary emitter connection without damaging any surrounding systems." Zilar stood in stunned silence. The precision of the strike was beyond anything he had witnessed in his extensive career. These weren't the actions of a newly discovered species fumbling with advanced technology. The communication channel activated again, and Captain Chen's voice returned, calm but with an unmistakable edge of steel beneath it. "Consider that a demonstration, Commander Vex. The Windsor targeted only your scanning systems, leaving your propulsion, life support, and even weapons untouched. This was a courtesy. You have 1 standard minute to withdraw to the specified distance, or our next response will be considerably less restrained." As the communication ended, Zilar found himself facing a command deck full of worried officers. For the first time since the Celestial Seeker had left Araxian space, Commander Zilar Vex felt something he had not anticipated encountering in this backwater sector. Fear. Crossing the line. The command deck of the Celestial Seeker had fallen into an uneasy silence following the precise strike from the human vessel. The acrid smell of burned circuitry drifted through the recycled air as damage control teams worked to assess the extent of the scanner array failure. "Status report," Commander Zilar demanded, his voice tight with suppressed rage. Chief Engineer Volks's voice came through the comm system, the background filled with the sounds of frantic activity. "Primary and secondary scanner arrays completely disabled, Commander. The energy beam severed the quantum resonance paths with surgical precision. Whoever fired that shot knew exactly what they were targeting and how our systems are configured." This revelation sent a chill through the command deck. Zilar exchanged glances with his officers, the implication hanging heavy in the air. The humans shouldn't have had that knowledge. "Time to repair?" Zilar asked. "At least 6 cycles with the materials we have on board," Volks replied. "And that's an optimistic estimate." Misa broke the subsequent silence. "Commander, we have 42 seconds remaining before the humans' deadline expires." Zilar's mind raced. Everything about this encounter had defied expectations. A supposedly new species with advanced weapons, precise tactical knowledge of Araxian technology, and the confidence to issue ultimatums. The rational course would be to withdraw as demanded and report to the Council, but retreat would mean admitting failure. Again. After the Proxima incident, another blot on his record would end his career. "Sir," Kraz urged, "we should comply with their request. They've demonstrated both capability and restraint. If they had wished to cripple us entirely, they clearly could have. And show weakness to an unknown species," Zilar retorted. "The Araxian Interstellar Council does not bow to threats, Lieutenant." "With respect, Commander," Nara interjected, "this isn't about showing weakness. It's about respecting established first contact protocols. Both ours and apparently theirs." 25 seconds, Misa announced. Zilar made his decision. "Maintain position. Tactical officer, power up our defensive grid to maximum capacity and prepare the pulse cannons. Let's see if these humans' capabilities match their confidence." "Commander," Kraz protested, "that's a direct escalation." "It's a show of resolve, Lieutenant," Zilar corrected sharply. "They fired upon an Araxian vessel. The Council would expect nothing less than a demonstration that such actions have consequences." As the officers reluctantly carried out his orders, the view screen suddenly activated without command input. The face that appeared belonged unmistakably to the alien captain, a bipedal being with dark skin, short cropped hair, and piercing eyes that seemed to look through Zilar rather than at him. "Commander Vex," Captain Chen said, her voice now transmitting on all frequencies simultaneously, bypassing the Celestial Seeker's communication protocols entirely. "Our sensors indicate you're powering weapons rather than preparing to withdraw. I strongly advise against this course of action." Zilar straightened, his crest flaring in defiance. "Captain Chen, your unprovoked attack on our vessel constitutes an act of aggression under Araxian law. The Celestial Seeker will defend itself if necessary." Something flickered across the human's face. Not fear as Zilar had hoped, but something closer to resignation. Perhaps even pity. "Very well," she replied. "For the record, we have attempted peaceful resolution." The transmission cut off abruptly. 5 seconds to deadline, Misa reported, her voice barely above a whisper. "Defensive screens at maximum," Zilar ordered. "Let them make the next move." The deadline passed. For 3 agonizing heartbeats, nothing happened. Then Kraz shouted, "Multiple launches detected from the Windsor. Small objects, moving fast." Before anyone could react further, the Celestial Seeker shuddered violently. Power fluctuated across the command deck, consoles flickering as systems reset themselves. "What was that?" Zilar demanded. "Did they hit us?" "No impacts detected," Misa replied, confused. "But, Commander, our defensive grid just went offline, and our weapons systems are. They're cycling through a shutdown sequence that I can't override." "Impossible." Zilar slammed a fist onto his command chair. "Override manually." "I'm trying, sir," Misa responded, frantically working her console. "But it's as if someone rewrote our core systems. The security protocols aren't responding to command authorization." A new voice suddenly emanated from the ship's internal communication system. Captain Chen's voice. "Commander Vex, we've deployed a non-lethal electronic warfare package that has temporarily disabled your offensive capabilities. Your life support, gravity systems, and propulsion remain unaffected. This is your final warning. Withdraw now, or we will be forced to take more permanent measures." Stunned silence fell over the command deck. The implications were staggering. The humans had remotely accessed and manipulated Araxian military technology, bypassing security systems that had been considered impenetrable. How is this possible? Nara finally asked, voicing the question in everyone's mind. Engineer Volks's voice came through again, sounding shaken. Commander, preliminary analysis suggests they used a quantum entanglement infiltration protocol. It's similar to theoretical work our scientists were exploring, but years more advanced. They shouldn't have this technology. No one should. Ziller felt the foundations of his reality shifting. Everything he believed about Araxian technological superiority, about their place in the galactic hierarchy, was being called into question. "Sir," Kraz said quietly, "I strongly recommend compliance. We are clearly outmatched." Zillar wanted to argue, wanted to find some path to salvage both the situation and his pride. But the evidence was overwhelming. With great reluctance, he nodded. "Lieutenant Kraz, plot a withdrawal course to 50,000 kilometers as requested." As the Celestial Seeker began moving away from the Windsor, Nara spoke up again. "Commander, I'm receiving data transmitted from the human vessel. It appears to be first contact protocols. They're providing standardized communication formats, cultural context packages, and diplomatic procedures." Zillar let out a chittering laugh devoid of humor. "How generous of them. It seems we're not their first contact after all." As they reached the designated distance, the Celestial Seeker's systems suddenly came back online, control returning to the Araxian crew. The view screen activated once more, showing Captain Chen, now seated in what appeared to be the Windsor's command center. "Commander Vex," she began, her tone more formal but no less authoritative. "Now that we've established appropriate boundaries, I'm prepared to engage in proper diplomatic exchange. The United Nations of Sol extends greetings to the Araxian people." Zillar struggled to maintain his composure. "You speak as if humanity has established diplomatic relations with other species before. Yet our extensive stellar surveys have never detected your civilization." A subtle smile crossed Chen's face. "That's by design, Commander. Humanity prefers to observe before engaging. We've maintained what we call a quiet presence in this sector for nearly a century." "Impossible," Zillar countered. "The Araxian Interstellar Council has been the dominant force in this region for over 300 cycles." "Has it?" Chen replied simply. She tapped something off-screen, and new data began streaming to the Celestial Seeker's computers. "Perhaps this will clarify our perspective." As the information appeared on their screens, the Araxian officers collectively drew back in shock. Star charts, species profiles, technological assessments, cultural analyses, a comprehensive database of galactic civilization far exceeding the Araxian records, and most disturbing of all, detailed information about Araxian society, government, military capability, and colonial expansion. "How long?" Zillar asked, his voice barely audible. "How long have you been watching us?" "We identified the first Araxian colony ships entering this sector 78 Earth years ago," Chen replied matter-of-factly. "We've maintained observation outposts at a safe distance ever since." "To what purpose?" Zillar demanded, finding his voice again. "If you possess such advanced technology, why hide in the shadows?" Captain Chen leaned forward slightly. "History, Commander. Humanity's first steps into interstellar space were complicated. We learned difficult lessons about rushing into galactic affairs without proper understanding. Now we observe, we learn, and we engage only when necessary, or when protocol-violating scans force our hand." The subtle rebuke was not lost on Zillar. For the first time in his career, he found himself at a complete loss for words. "I'm transmitting coordinates for a neutral meeting point," Chen continued. "If your government wishes to establish formal diplomatic relations, representatives can meet us there in 14 standard days. We'll bring our translators and cultural attaches. And if we decline?" Zillar asked, a final attempt to reassert some control over the situation. Chen's expression remained neutral, but her eyes hardened slightly. Then we return to our respective territories and continue as before, with one difference. You'll know we're out here, watching. I suspect your council might find that information significant." With that, the transmission ended, leaving the Araxian crew to contemplate the profound implications of what had just occurred. As the celestial seeker began its journey back to Araxian space, Zillar stared out of the stars, his worldview irrevocably altered. Somewhere out there, humanity had been watching, waiting, and advancing, hidden in plain sight, while the Araxians had proudly proclaimed themselves the vanguard of galactic civilization. The Proxima incident suddenly seemed insignificant by comparison. Zillar had a much more momentous report to prepare for the Council now, one that would change the course of Araxian history forever. In the vast emptiness of space, the UNS Windsor watched the Araxian vessel depart, its advanced sensors tracking the alien ship until it disappeared into the darkness between the stars. On its command deck, Captain Sarah Chen sighed heavily. "Contact Galactic Command," she ordered her communications officer. "Tell them First Contact Protocol 7 has been initiated with the Araxians, and add a personal note. I think this one's going to be interesting." Awakening the giant. Captain Sarah Chen stood in the observation deck of the UNS Windsor, hands clasped behind her back, as she gazed at the distant stars. The Araxian vessel had withdrawn to the specified distance, but its presence still registered on the Windsor's advanced sensors, a persistent reminder of the delicate situation unfolding. "Captain," the ship's AI announced through the private communication channel in her neural implant, "Director Hammond is requesting a secure conference." Chen nodded, though the gesture was unnecessary. "Connect us, Windsor." A holographic projection materialized in the center of the observation deck, an older man with silver hair and the weathered face of someone who had spent decades making difficult decisions. "Sarah." Director Hammond greeted her, his image flickering slightly across the vast interstellar distance. "I've reviewed your preliminary report. Quite the encounter you've had." "Indeed, sir," Chen replied. "The Araxians were not what we expected from their profile." Hammond's expression hardened. "They violated First Contact Protocol and attempted to infiltrate a UNS military vessel. The Council is concerned." "The Council is always concerned," Shen remarked with a slight smile. "But in this case, I believe it was overeagerness rather than malice. Commander Zillar strikes me as ambitious, perhaps reckless, but not deliberately hostile." "Your assessment may be correct," Hammond conceded, "but this accelerates our timeline considerably. We've been observing the Araxians for decades, preparing for a carefully managed introduction. Now we're forced into an impromptu diplomatic relationship with a species that's just discovered they're not nearly as advanced as they believe themselves to be." Chen moved to the holographic display on the far wall, calling up the data they had gathered on the Araxian vessel. "Their technology is impressive in many ways, Director. Their propulsion systems in particular show innovative approaches we might learn from. But their weapons and defensive systems," Hammond pressed, "generations behind ours," Chen confirmed, "which presents its own problems. Wounded pride can be dangerous, especially among a species with the Araxians' territorial history." Hammond nodded gravely. "The Proxima Centauri incident taught us that lesson all too well." The reference wasn't lost on Chen. Humanity's first disastrous contact with an alien species had shaped their entire approach to interstellar relations ever since. The monuments on New Terra stood as eternal reminders of the cost of rushing blindly into the galactic community. "I've authorized your proposed meeting coordinates," Hammond continued. "The diplomatic corps is assembling a first contact team as we speak. In the meantime, you're to maintain position and continue gathering data. We need to understand what we're dealing with." "Understood, Director. Though I suspect." Chen paused as a priority alert flashed across her neural interface. "Sir, I need to go. The Araxians are deploying something." The hologram of Hammond nodded. "Keep me informed." Hammond out. As the projection faded, Chen strode quickly to the bridge, the ship's internal transport system whisking her through the vessel's massive interior. She arrived to find her crew already at high alert. "Report," she ordered, sliding into the command chair. Lieutenant Commander Rajiv Patel, her tactical officer, responded immediately. "The Araxian vessel has launched multiple small objects, Captain. Initial readings suggest unmanned probes of some kind. They're maintaining the 50,000-kilometer exclusion zone, but the probes are on a trajectory that will bring them into our security perimeter." "Interesting," Chen mused. "It seems Commander Ziller isn't ready to retreat just yet. Let's see what he's up to." Full sensor sweep on those probes, maximum resolution. "Already underway," Patel confirmed. "They're unusual, Captain. Extremely sophisticated for reconnaissance drones. I'm detecting quantum computing cores, adaptive shielding, and what appears to be some form of phase shift technology." Chen frowned. "Phase shift. They're planning to penetrate our hull." "That would be my assessment," Patel agreed grimly. Chen considered her options. The diplomatic approach would be to warn the Araxians against such an intrusion. The military response would be to destroy the probes before they could reach the Windsor. Neither appealed to her at this juncture. "Let them come," she decided finally. "But on our terms. Lieutenant Zhou, activate the quantum entanglement field around the ship. Let's see what these probes are really capable of." "Quantum field active, Captain," Zhou confirmed moments later. "Now we wait," Chen said, settling back in her command chair. They didn't have to wait long. The Araxian probes approached the Windsor with impressive speed, their trajectories suggesting a coordinated effort to map the human vessel from multiple angles. As they reached the outer boundary of the ship's invisible quantum field, something unexpected happened. The probes began to slow, their movements becoming erratic. "They're caught in the field," Patel reported with satisfaction. "Their phase shift technology is attempting to compensate, but they can't break free." "Bring them in," Chen ordered. "I want a complete analysis of these devices." Tractor beams activated, drawing the disabled Araxian probes into one of the Windsor's auxiliary hangar bays. Chen left the bridge, making her way to the secured area where the alien technology would be examined. Science Officer Dr. Elizabeth Morgan was already there when Chen arrived, her team setting up containment fields around the captured probes. "Fascinating design," Morgan remarked as Chen approached. "More biological than mechanical in some aspects. The Araxians clearly have a different philosophical approach to technological development than we do." "Can you access their data cores?" Chen asked. Morgan nodded, her fingers dancing across a holographic interface. "Already working on it. Their encryption is sophisticated that follows logical patterns we can decipher. It's just a matter of..." There we go. The laboratory's main display lit up with streams of information. The probe's programming, scanning parameters, and most importantly, their communication protocols. They're designed to infiltrate our systems and transmit data back to the Celestial Seeker, Morgan confirmed. "But there's something else here, something interesting. These probes aren't just sending raw data. They're analyzing and interpreting as they go, forming conclusions about our technological capabilities. Intelligence gathering, not just reconnaissance," Chen noted. "Commander Zillard is being more thorough than I anticipated. And more reckless," Morgan added. "These probes contain detailed information about Araxian technology, propulsion systems, weapons configurations, even their central computing architecture. If we were hostile, this would be an intelligence goldmine." Chen smiled thinly. "Who says we're not hostile, Doctor? At least from their perspective." She tapped her neural implant, opening a channel to the bridge. "Lieutenant Patel, prepare a response package. Let's send Commander Ziller a message he won't forget." Back on the bridge, Chen returned to her command chair and addressed her crew. "The Araxians believe they're dealing with a newly discovered species fumbling with advanced technology. It's time to correct that misapprehension. Lieutenant Patel, target their sensor array. Precision strike only." "Target locked," Patel confirmed after a moment. "Fire." A single pulse of directed energy lanced out from the Windsor, striking the celestial seeker with pinpoint accuracy. On the tactical display, Chen watched as the Oraxian vessel's secondary sensor systems went dark, joining the primary array they had disabled earlier. Now, Chen continued, establish a direct connection to their computer core using the protocols we extracted from their probes. Lieutenant Zhao, upload the response package. Connection established, Zhao reported moments later. Uploading now. Complete. They're attempting to sever the link, but they're too late. Package deployed. Chen nodded with satisfaction. Open a channel to Commander Ziller. The main view screen activated, showing the Oraxian commander's face. His expression was difficult to read with alien features, but the agitated movement of his appendages suggested alarm bordering on panic. Captain Chen, he began, mandibles clicking rapidly. This unprovoked attack was neither unprovoked nor an attack, Commander, Chen interrupted calmly. Your probes attempted to infiltrate my vessel after you had already been warned about boundary violations. We responded with appropriate restraint. Had we wished to disable your ship completely, we could have done so. What have you done to our systems? Zillar demanded. Our internal networks are being flooded with data we cannot interpret. I've provided you with a proper introduction, Chen replied. The package currently integrating with your systems contains basic information about humanity, our history, our technological development, and most importantly, our previous encounters with other spacefaring civilizations. She leaned forward slightly, including detailed accounts of what happened to those who mistook our patience for weakness. The information flooding into the Oraxian ship's computers was carefully curated, enough to impress upon them humanity's capabilities and experience, while revealing nothing of strategic value. It included historical accounts of humanity's rise to the stars, their technological achievements, and sanitized versions of their previous first contact experiences. This cannot be accurate, Ziller stammered, clearly reviewing the data as they spoke. You claim your species has encountered 17 other civilizations. 23 now, including yours, Chen corrected. Though only 19 of those encounters progressed to formal diplomatic relations. And the others? Zillar asked, his voice hushed. Chen's expression remained neutral. Found our boundaries less than persuasive. The implication hung in the space between them, unspoken but unmistakable. I've also taken the liberty of returning your probes, Chen continued. You'll find them in your primary cargo bay, fully intact but thoroughly analyzed. Consider it a professional courtesy and an object lesson in technological exchange. Ziller's crest flattened against his skull, a gesture Chen's synapse psychology training identified as submission or extreme concern.